Today, March 25. This message found you for a reason, not by accident, not by coincidence, but because something has already shifted in your life and you felt it. Maybe you couldn't explain it, maybe you tried to ignore it, but deep down, you know something is different. Because when I saw your future, I didn't speak right away. I couldn't. I stood there in complete silence, trying to understand what I was being shown, because what I saw was a life that almost went in a completely different direction, a path where you slowly lost yourself, a path where things didn't work out the way you hoped, a path where exhaustion replaced purpose and doubt replaced clarity. And the hardest part? You didn't even realize how close you were to that version of your life. You were still moving forward, still trying, still hoping, but something wasn't right. Something felt off, like no matter what you did, things just weren't aligning. And you started asking yourself questions. Why is everything so difficult? Why does it feel like I'm being blocked? Why do things keep falling apart right when they start to go right? What you didn't know was that those blocks were not there to stop you. They were there to protect you. Because in that vision, I saw moments where everything looked perfect on the surface, but underneath, it wasn't. Opportunities that seemed right but would have led you into deeper confusion. People who appeared genuine but carried intentions that didn't align with your future. Situations that felt like progress but were actually pulling you away from where you're meant to be. And just before those things could fully take hold in your life, everything changed. Suddenly, without warning, doors closed, plans stopped, people distanced themselves, and you were left wondering, why now? Why me? Why does it feel like everything is being taken away? But it wasn't being taken away, it was being removed. There's a difference, because removal is intentional. It's precise. It happens when something is no longer meant to stay in your life. And even though it felt painful, even though it felt confusing, it was necessary, because what I saw next changed everything. There was a moment, a single moment where your timeline shifted, and it didn't happen because of something you did. It happened because of divine intervention, because Archangel Michael stepped in, not loudly, not dramatically, but with authority, a presence that didn't need to announce itself, because everything responded to it. And in that moment, things that were meant to harm you lost their power. Things that were meant to delay you lost their hold. Things that were meant to confuse you lost their influence. You didn't see it happen, but you felt the aftermath, that sudden shift, that unexpected ending, that unexplained distance. That was not random. That was protection. Because the truth is, you were closer to breaking than you admit. There were nights where your thoughts were too heavy, moments where you questioned your direction, times where you almost gave up, even if you didn't say it out loud. You kept going, but it wasn't easy. And that's why this matters. Because even when you felt alone, you weren't. Even when it felt like nothing was working, something was being aligned. Even when it felt like everything was against you, something was standing for you. You just couldn't see it yet. And then I was shown something that I won't forget, a future that almost happened, a version of your life where you stopped trying, where the weight became too much, where the silence lasted too long, where you slowly started believing that maybe this is all your life was ever going to be. And when I saw that, that's when it hit me. That's when I understood why intervention happened when it did. Because if it didn't, you would have continued down that path, and eventually you would have lost the version of yourself that you're becoming now. But that didn't happen, because something changed in time, and now you're standing in a different place. It may not feel clear yet, it may not feel complete yet, but it's different, and you know it. There's a shift happening, and it's not just external, it's internal. You're thinking differently, seeing things differently, questioning things you once accepted. You're starting to notice patterns, starting to recognize what no longer feels right. And that's not confusion, that's clarity beginning. Because where you're going requires a different version of you, a version that sees clearly, chooses wisely, moves intentionally. And that's why certain people had to leave, not because you weren't enough, but because they were not aligned. Some of them couldn't understand you anymore, some of them couldn't reach you the same way, and some of them were never meant to go where you're going. So they left, or they became distant, or things just faded, and you tried to make sense of it. You tried to hold on, you tried to fix what was changing, but it wasn't meant to be fixed, it was meant to end. Because what's ahead of you needs space. Space for new connections, new opportunities, new clarity, and most importantly, a new mindset. Because what's coming next will require you to trust more than you doubt, to move forward even when you don't have all the answers, to stay grounded even when things start changing quickly, because they will. Things are about to move, not slowly, not eventually, but soon, in ways you didn't expect. Doors that once felt locked will open, situations that felt stuck will shift, answers that felt distant will become clear. And when it happens, don't question it, don't overthink it, don't go back to what you already outgrew, because this time it's aligned, this time it's real, and this time you're ready for it. But listen carefully, don't rush. Don't act out of impatience, because impatience will try to convince you that you need to force things, that you need to make something happen, that you're running out of time, but you're not. Everything is happening at the exact moment it needs to, not late, not early, exactly on time. So stay steady. Stay aware, stay focused on what's in front of you, because what was meant to distract you has already been removed. What was meant to harm you has already been stopped, and what's meant for you is already on its way. This is not the end of your struggle, but it is the end of your confusion. Clarity is coming. Alignment is coming, and the version of your life that almost happened is no longer yours, because now you're on a different path, a protected path, a guided path, a path that was adjusted just in time. So if you're hearing this today, March 25, understand something clearly. You weren't forgotten, you weren't being ignored, and you were never alone. You were being protected, even when you didn't know it, and what's coming next will make everything make sense. Just wait, stay ready, and don't look back. There's something I couldn't tell you before, not because it wasn't important, but because you weren't ready to hear it yet. But now, something has shifted, and what comes next, you need to understand. After the vision of what almost happened faded, another vision began, clearer, stronger, closer. This one wasn't about what you escaped, it was about what's coming. And this time, I didn't feel fear, I felt weight. The kind of weight that comes when something big is about to enter your life. I saw you again, but this version of you was different. Not completely changed, but awakened, more aware, more still, more certain. You weren't chasing anything anymore. You weren't forcing outcomes. You weren't trying to prove yourself. And that's when everything started moving, because what I saw next was acceleration. Things that once felt slow suddenly started happening fast, very fast. Opportunities appearing out of nowhere, conversations that shift your direction, decisions that change everything in a single moment. And at first, it felt overwhelming because you weren't used to things working in your favor. You were used to waiting, struggling, questioning. But now the pace was different. And this is where many people make a mistake. They panic, they overthink, they try to control what is finally aligning. Don't do that, because what's coming into your life now is not random. It's the result of everything you've already been through. But listen carefully, because this is the part most people don't understand. Not everything that enters your life in this season is meant to stay. Even now, discernment is necessary, because along with real opportunities, there will still be distractions. But this time, they won't look negative. They'll look good, very good, almost perfect. And that's where your growth will be tested, not in struggle, but in choice. In the vision, I saw two paths open in front of you. Both looked promising, both felt right, but only one was aligned with your purpose. The other was comfortable, familiar, easier, but not meant for you. And the difference between the two was not obvious. It required awareness, stillness, trust. This is why everything you went through before was necessary, because without those lessons, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference now. Then I saw something else. People returning. Not all, but some. People who once walked away. People who became distant. People who didn't understand you before. And they come back changed, or at least they appear to be. And this is where you need to be careful, because not every return is a restoration. Some returns are tests. You will feel it, that inner signal, that quiet voice that tells you something is not the same. Listen to it. Don't ignore it this time, because the version of you now is not the same person who accepted everything before. You see more, you feel more, you understand more. And this time, you don't need to hold on to anything that disrupts your peace. Now let me tell you what happens next, because this is where everything becomes clear. In the vision, I saw a moment, a defining moment, where something finally works, completely, effortlessly, in a way that surprises even you. It could be a breakthrough, a decision, an opportunity, a connection, but whatever it is, it shifts your direction permanently. And in that moment, you realize something powerful. Nothing you went through before was wasted. Not the delays, not the confusion, not the pain, not even the moments where you thought you were losing, because all of it was preparing you for this exact point. And then I saw peace. Not temporary relief, not a short moment of happiness, but real peace, the kind that stays, the kind that doesn't depend on what's happening around you, the kind that comes from knowing you're finally where you're supposed to be. But before that fully settles in, there's one last thing, a final release. Something you've been holding on to, whether emotionally, mentally, or even physically, will need to be let go of, completely. And when that happens, everything becomes lighter, clearer, easier, because you're no longer divided between past and future. You're fully present, fully aligned. And that's when it happens. Everything opens, not all at once, but in a way that feels steady, safe, right. And you won't need to question it. You won't need constant reassurance. You'll just know. Because this time, there's no confusion, no doubt, no hesitation, just clarity. And as the vision ended, one final message remained. You were not only protected from what could have happened, you were guided toward what is meant to happen. And now you're standing right at the point where it begins. So don't rush, don't doubt, don't go back, because what's ahead of you is already aligned. Just stay ready, stay aware, and when the moment comes, move forward without fear, without hesitation. There is one last thing you need to hear. Not later, not tomorrow, but now. Because this is the part of the message that changes everything. What you've heard so far was about what you escaped and what is coming. But this is about who you are becoming. When the final part of the vision appeared, everything went completely still. No movement, no sound, no sense of time, just presence. And in that stillness, I saw you again, but not the version of you from before. Not the one who struggled, not the one who questioned everything, not the one who felt lost. This version of you was standing still, grounded, certain, at peace. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because something inside you had changed. And that's when I understood. This entire journey was never just about changing your situation. It was about transforming you. Because if everything around you changed, but you stayed the same, you would lose it again. So the real miracle wasn't just protection, it was preparation. You were being prepared to hold what's coming next, to handle it, to keep it, to grow with it. And now, that preparation is almost complete. But listen carefully, because this is where your awareness matters most. There will be a moment very soon where you're tested again. Not in the same way as before, not through struggle or pain, but through choice. A situation will appear that feels familiar, not identical, but close enough to trigger your old patterns. And in that moment, you'll have two options: react the way you used to, or respond as the person you've become. This is the final separation between your past self and your future self. And what you choose in that moment will define the next chapter of your life. Because growth is not proven when things are hard. Growth is proven when things are easy again, and you still choose differently. In the vision, I saw you pause, not react immediately, not fall back into old habits. You paused, you observed, you understood, and then you chose differently. And in that single decision, everything shifted permanently. Old cycles broke, old patterns ended, old versions of you dissolved, and what replaced them was something stronger, something clearer, something unshakable. You, the real you, the one who doesn't chase, the one who doesn't force, the one who doesn't beg for clarity because you already carry it within you. And that's when it happened, a level of alignment you've never experienced before. Things didn't just improve, they stabilized. Your emotions became steady, your thoughts became clear, your decisions became intentional, and life finally started to feel different. Not chaotic, not confusing, but aligned. And then I saw something else, silence. But not the kind of silence you experienced before, not the heavy silence, not the lonely silence. This was different. This was peaceful. The kind of silence where nothing needs to be forced, nothing needs to be explained, nothing needs to be chased, because everything is already in place. And in that silence, you felt safe. For the first time in a long time, truly safe. Not because nothing could go wrong, but because you finally trusted yourself. You trusted your decisions, you trusted your direction, you trusted your path. And that changed everything. Because once you trust yourself, you stop seeking validation from the wrong places. You stop holding on to what doesn't feel right. You stop questioning what you already know deep inside, and that's when life becomes simple, not easy, but clear. And clarity is what you've been searching for all along. As the vision came to an end, there was one final understanding. You were never behind. You were never lost. You were never being denied. You were being aligned. Every delay, every ending, every moment of confusion was part of that alignment. And now, you've reached the point where things begin to make sense. Not all at once, not perfectly, but enough. Enough for you to move forward without fear. Enough for you to trust what's unfolding. Enough for you to stop looking back. Because there is nothing behind you anymore that you need to return to. Everything ahead of you is new. New energy, new opportunities, new direction, new life. But it all depends on one thing: your awareness. Stay aware of what feels right. Stay aware of what doesn't. Stay aware of how you respond, not just what happens. Because now, you're not just being guided, you're choosing. And your choices now carry more power than ever before. So don't rush, don't doubt, don't second-guess your growth. You've already come farther than you realize, and what's ahead of you is not something you need to chase, it's something you're ready to receive. So when it arrives, don't hesitate. Step into it, fully, confidently, without fear. Because this time, you're not the same person you were before. This time, you're ready. And this time, everything holds.